Hello you sexy beasts and welcome back to War Thunder. Today's background footage is going to be a little bit different. This is a custom battle I hosted for my Discord server, which, wink wink, you should totally join for stuff like this. This map is the April Fool's UFO map from this year, in case you missed that out. You can actually play this in custom battles, and I've made it nighttime and I've added the night vision effect in post. This is actually not in the game just yet, but it is what we're going to be talking about today. First, we're actually going to be talking about the good things coming with this upcoming update, and then about some of my concerns with this specific topic. In fact, we're even going to start with something that's a little bit hidden in the news post. Turning off your tank engines. Yes, finally. This is something that has been asked for a long time. You can turn your engines off in helicopters and planes, but you were never able to turn them off in tanks. Well, with the upcoming patch, you will be able to do so. We are not quite sure yet how turning off the engine will affect tanks that need a running engine to actually be able to turn their turrets, but it allows you to, well, in my case, do more cinematic things, but also allows you to be a bit more quiet. But apart from being quiet, the main reason why this is being introduced right now is to reduce the thermals. Why the thermals, you might ask? Well, they're also introducing night vision and thermal sights for tanks and helicopters that had them. Yes, another feature that has been requested, although not as long as turning off your engine, is the addition of night vision scopes and thermal vision scopes for tanks, specifically tanks, but we're also getting them for helicopters that had them. The dev blog does mention that it's also going to be introduced for planes in the future, for planes that had night vision stuff and infrared stuff and thermal stuff, but not quite just yet with the drop of this patch. And yes, before you get all angry, the Panther 2, despite being removed from research, is going to eventually get night vision. Not quite yet though, not with the drop of this patch either. Now, let's start off with the night vision. It's what I'm actually trying to simulate here with the background footage. Of course, this is obviously not perfect. It's just a filter that I've put on in Sony Vegas afterwards, but you can kind of get the idea of what it does. Night vision relies on infrared radiation, invisible to the human eye. Generally, tanks with night vision sights come equipped with a night vision searchlight, with an infrared searchlight really. It doesn't give off visible light, at least not visible to the naked eye, but it lights up the area for the night vision camera to pick up the reflected light. However, anyone else who also has a night vision scope will be able to see that spotlight extremely well. As such, there is a trade-off between using the light to extend your range and being able to see more clearly, and also getting spotted by other tanks that have their night vision sight turned on without having their scopes turned on, without having their flashlights, searchlights turned on. Apparently you will be able to toggle these infrared spotlights on and off though. Now, the early ones are quite limited range, especially on the Panther 2, which is not getting it quite just yet, but we'll get it eventually. They don't have that much range. I think the Panther 2 only had like 100 to 200 meters effective range by itself, and relied on separate trucks with bigger infrared searchlights to light up the area to actually use its night vision size more effectively. But later tanks do have an increased range, up to 1 kilometer if not more. Now, if I am not heavily mistaken, I don't think that infrared vision sights, that night vision scopes can see through smoke either. At least, hopefully none that we are likely to see in game, and as such you can use smoke as a defense against night vision scopes. And of course you can only really use them at night, the clue's in the name, night vision scope. During the day there's simply too much light and you will get blinded, the whole image will just be way overexposed. And this likely will also apply to fires as well. And perhaps even bombs can be used as flashbangs. Thermal sights are a bit different. These also pick up infrared radiation, but a specific frequency that is emitted strongly from hot objects. As such, against a cold background, warm things like tracks, engine decks and gun barrels after firing will show up brightly lit. This works both during the night and during the day as well, and it doesn't require a searchlight that can give your position away. These generally can also see through smoke, though apparently more modern tanks have smoke that can block thermal cameras. We don't actually know whether that will be implemented in the game yet or not, so there you go. And thermal cameras also tend to have very long ranges. In fact, you can even use them to spot planes at long ranges, something that might be quite useful for SPAA with access to thermal vision. Generally speaking, it is a very good tool for making spotting targets a lot easier, and is even going to be useful for picking out targets that are hiding in shrubbery. In other words, thermal vision is going to be extremely powerful. Now, I'm actually quite excited about the introduction of these. Night vision is cool. Thermal vision is even cooler. It reminds me of Battlefield 4 essentially, where you could equip thermal sights onto your tank, and overall it is something that I do applaud Gaijin for finally implementing. New game mechanics, new variety in gameplay, all good. The problem is how they are implementing these mechanics. Specifically that neither night vision nor thermal scopes will come stock on any tank. Yep. Just like parts in FP, what we love so much, this potentially crucial mechanic is going to be locked behind a researchable modification. And I have a feeling it's not going to be a tier 1 mod either. Now, this is a big issue. With the introduction of this, Gaijin did already mention that they are going to be increasing the likelihood of battles being held at night, at the battle ratings that these scopes will appear at. So low battle ratings should be fine, they shouldn't get any increase in night battles, but higher battle ratings will definitely be seeing more night battles. Now, depending on the kind of a monitor you have, you might not be able to see anything at all during a night battle. I myself am actually quite fortunate. I have a pretty good monitor, and I've set it up in a way that I can actually see pretty well at night. But I know a lot of people out there will not be able to see anything at night, especially if they don't have any of these sights unlocked. As such, they are going to be at a huge disadvantage versus people who do have these sights unlocked. And that's just night vision. Thermals is even worse. At least night vision is only an issue during the night time. You can only really use them during the night time, and they tend to have a lot of drawbacks. Thermal sights can be used during the day as well, and they make spotting so much easier. And whilst, yes, you can eventually reduce your thermal signature by stopping somewhere and not firing for a while and turning off your engine, which will cool down your tank, I'm not really seeing that to be a viable counter to thermal sights, because you generally have to go towards the cap zones. And I don't think sitting in a cap zone completely mobile with your engine turned off, as such you can't move around quickly when you need to, it's going to be, yeah, not really viable. Unless this is something intended to help out the bush campers in the back of the map. In that case, yes. Turning off the engine when you sit in the corner of a map somewhere behind some bushes will help, I suppose. Although if you fire, the cannon is going to heat up and you are going to be spottable in the thermal side. It's all just very confusing, really. I think I'm going to be staying away from the thermal vision and night vision tiers when the patch drops, because I have a feeling it's going to be a clusterfuck, to put it bluntly, and I'm probably just going to be using these in custom battles. Kind of like I was trying to simulate here with the background footage. These are definitely interesting times, for sure. I would rather have these sights to be stock on the vehicles that have them, but if that's not an option, Gaijin, can you please at least make them tier 1 mods, maximum tier 2 mods? Have them at the same level as parts and FPE. At the high tiers that these sights are going to be found, a tier 4 mod position would be quite the grind to get for what seems to be a pretty essential tool. This is more useful than rangefinders. Having them locked behind a complete grind essentially is going to be absolute hell for everyone who has these tanks stock. As for myself, I am definitely going to be hosting custom battles at night more often now that we can actually do this. Might even do some hide and seek, could be interesting. And in case that is going to be it for this pretty short video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like rating. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think of the introduction of these mechanics, and especially what you think of them being locked behind a grind wall. I have a feeling not many people are going to be too happy about that. If you're new around here, of course, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, my name is MikeGoesBoom, and thank you for watching.
You can lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find